May I open with a question? Are you your thoughts? You may answer nay, for your thoughts pass before you as a parade, as a kaleidoscope of the imagination, and oftentimes they are invaded by the thoughts of others, thoughts clashing upon thoughts. Hence, it is to the spirit of man that we dedicate our outpouring of solemn strength this evening, invoking for you all that light which feeds the very soul of man and brings to him the solace of the ages, that he may become the repository of all that is infinite, of all that is loveliness, of those parading thoughts that are the thoughts of the mind of God, of the mind of the ages, for his is all of that. He transcends all time and space from the beginning unto the ending of each age, and continues to pour out the sweet anointing of the water of life and the fragrance of the soul. There are times that it may seem as though the anointing is poured out upon a rock, that men do not receive or understand the high dignity which we bring, the vestments of immortality, that which enables man to control and to master his thoughts and his feelings. Individuals from time to time are mastered by the thoughts and feelings of others. But the time has come when the students of the great law should summon that full measure of devotion which will enable them to take some control over their thoughts and determine that they will steer the course of events in order to coincide with God's will, that the beautiful passions of the great white brotherhood may become a reality in this time of God control. For effective God control is the movement of divine love. It is the impulse of divine love that is actually implanted within the heart of man. And by the power of divine love, man is able to move aside and part the veil of the future, seeing as God sees and understanding as God understands. He comes apart then from his thoughts and summons the means to do so. He stands back, and watching the parade of thoughts, he may say to the flock, "Go thou here and go thou there." And behold, the thoughts are under the control of the master. For the master within can express through the children of the light, bringing them their magnificent God freedom, the freedom which their souls crave and which the whole earth seeks but knows it not. Have you ever stopped to think for a moment yourselves about that? Well, beloved ones, the quick-witted ones think about that, and those who are with us think about that, and the angelic hosts do it without even thinking about it, because they feel innately and within themselves that they ought to be an individualized focus of the light, a flame, whether tiny or large, that observes passing events and masters them. And sometimes it so happens that that mastery becomes automated. It is because the spirit within man is in control. The soul controls the form. And thus, a master of nature, of being, a divine master is born within the tiny chalice of individuality. And oh, how precious this is, beloved ones, summoning the fruits of the Spirit for the ages, and the passions of the Christ reborn, kindled once again, cycling all over again, send those tiny shivers up the spine of man that enables him to say, God lives, and I live also. For man can only live by identifying with the Spirit in a most permanent way. For all of the passing fancy of the times is a continually moving arc of consciousness that floods in and out through periods of sleepfulness and wakefulness. Man must learn then that he can become the divine master, that there is great fruit to be obtained for oneself and for the planet in a larger sense by reason of summoning that God control of which I speak. And in the name of holy freedom, beloved ones, I say to you, is it not almost overtime that man should summon the fruit of freedom? For while a little knowledge may be a dangerous thing, as some have said, a little more knowledge gives each individual some sense of goal-fittedness that he may seek and may understand the beauty of the currents of the Christ that flood forth within him when he can summon the wisdom and the strength to stop the vicious flow of mortal, humanizing thoughts that devour and consume the spirit temporarily, putting to rest those beautiful cosmic impulses that God longs to see surge within the force field of your consciousness. For consciousness is a blessed thing. It is a chalice with wings that may indeed fly into the highest atmosphere and be a succinct example to all. How wondrous is the power of beautiful example. And yet, strangely enough, viewing other individuals from man's own lofty position, he often finds fault with his fellow men, with his peers, and criticism and condemnation and judgment, of which I have spoken so often, continues to be the bane of mortal existence. If instead, beloved ones, of holding to a fiat of criticism, man would instead summon the God power of his being for all that he meets, that he sees may, according to his highest judgment, commit errors, and free those individuals from the bond of those errors, he would render not only a service unto them and to me personally, but also unto himself. For by karmic merit, the moment that he himself found himself in the sloughs of life and passing through the same valley of the shadows of imperfection, another would hold it for him. And if they did not, then a just cosmos would see that somewhere a compensatory action would take place, bringing to all that beautiful fruit of the Spirit, which is the fruit of the brotherhood. In the name of holy wisdom, beloved ones, what is the meaning of Christ's truth, if it is not brotherhood? And if it is brotherhood, is it not a proper action that all learn to be their brother's keeper, that all learn to think the highest thoughts of their fellow men? For by creating thought matrices that are thought matrices of light, that are energized by the Holy Spirit, that are fragrant as a green bough, man is able to overcome those old and decaying, dried-up concepts that, like a dried-up bough, are fit only for the burning. We are concerned with your freedom, and you are concerned with what will happen in 1972. I tell you tonight that that is up to you and to your fellow men. True it is that there are many reminiscences gathered round about, reminiscences whose old and crusty nature is verily invested with much of the stuff which you yourselves have made and your peers. Now, we come, and the lords of karma come, to make the best out of it all, and try to arrange and rearrange the old furniture within the rooms to present a new appearance to man. Will you help us? Will you help us by creating less debris, by creating less passions for darkness and a greater passion for light? Well, I tell you, you can expect little help from the world who simply read in the newspapers just what has happened yesterday and what may happen tomorrow. And being susceptible to these passions of darkness, they are easily moved by those fashions of the passing time into those slots, those special slots of man's classification of others. And they find themselves without the wisdom to actually free themselves from the burrow pits and the slime pits and all of the dark traps that are laid for the human race. The affairs in Pakistan and in India are indeed fraught with much destructivity toward the human race. And the situation now taking shape in Israel is even more dangerous than that which threatens from Red China. But mankind should understand that the whole human race could very easily solve their problems by casting off their own sense of human greed and personality identification with nations in a jingoistic sense. They ought to recognize the solemn nature and beautiful nature of the Prince of Peace and the science of true cosmic justice. They ought to understand that God, who made of one blood all nations for to dwell upon the face of the earth, created a cosmic brotherhood long ago, to which we all subscribe and do render our very best services unto men. I cannot stand here tonight and tell you that the ascended masters have not served this race, this world, these nations, yea, the whole family of nations, in seeking to envision that full measure of cosmic culture which does bring about all of the elements of the golden age into manifestation. Now in your time, right now, you have all those elements available to you. Elements of a science that can free the world from drudgery. Elements of a culture that can bring to mankind the awareness of what they ought to do with their time. Elements of spiritual teaching which will free men from the bane of karma and pain and bring them to those spiritual meditations and those spiritual realizations which are the fruit of the ages. Do you see? Well, beloved hearts, it is up to the world verily. But inasmuch as they do not know what they are doing, so much has been brought to the ascended master students to give them what amounts almost to a status of a parliamentar, one who arbites for the entire world. To you then who believe this night, there is given the objective energies, the practical manifestations of serving all mankind by holding the immaculate concept within your heart for all. True it is that there are many dangerous forces manifesting in the world and shaping strange consequences for mankind, which may bring pain, death, and agony to untold millions, possibly to the whole planetary body. Yet, as in the time of the French Revolution, we continue faithfully to serve the cause of the freedom of humanity. We want mankind to be able to enjoy the fruits of the ages. We want them to be able to enjoy the wonderful scientific achievements which have been builded, which are being builded, which come to individuals, in some supplanting the things of the Spirit, and in others being a useful tool to serve humanity in this time when man is becoming more godlike in a physical sense the enjoyer of all the beauty and strength of life, but at the same time, in a spiritual sense, is in a state of confusion, with many signposts pointing upward, downward, sideways, and every way, directing mankind to the same place, ostensibly, but in reality serving to confuse their mind. They say, which way shall I go? How shall I exist? What can I do that I may be saved? The old perennial question asked of the great Master Jesus has been asked of all of us from time to time. Individuals are concerned with their future, oftentimes more than they are with their past. And yet their future is actually a reflection of that past. And this they ought to understand in the present moment. For here now, at the very cusp of the new year, mankind are being given a little glimpse of the dangers and potentials that face them. And they are being reminded solemnly of the wonderful gifts that are given to them. They're being asked to enlist in the cause of the golden age. I have just stepped up the heat of transmutation. Do not be alarmed. I want you to understand that I came here this night to perform, perforce, a specific action of the Spirit. And I am sure that most of you are aware of the fact that the sinister force desires to employ every tactic at its command in these last days of the age to deter mankind from accepting his great divine cosmic fiats, to disturb him in one or more of his four lower bodies, and to prevent him from attaining to that God magnificence which, I assure you, each one of you ought to embrace as you would a divine lover. For these gifts are gifts of the Spirit. We say then to those angels of our band, to those forces of light over which God has given us power, behold, the unfailing light of freedom. It shall rule the world. It shall stand supreme within the human heart as the emancipator of all life, and it shall bring all life into the fold, point by point, even those who may resist because they do not thoroughly understand just what we are doing. You may say to yourself, this sounds a bit contrary, for I have always believed that mankind have free will. Well, beloved ones, they do up to a point. But you should understand that we have certain rights, that God has certain rights, that heaven has certain rights, and these rights are the creation of the thought forms in the very ethers itself that will literally exalt the divine plan in the eyes, in the consciousness, from the skies into the being of man, summoning the elect to the great feast, the marriage supper of the Lamb. This has been so called. And it is in reality summoning all humanity to the great union, the cosmic union of man and God, to the feast of the Lamb, in other words, to the feast of holy innocence. Mankind through the years have been involved in much that is not innocent. Now then, we ask you to come to the cosmic games, to attend the spiritual efforts of the ages as we begin to unfold the cosmic drama to the eyes of all. We say, take heart. For behold, the light that shines is stronger upon the mountain tops and in the glory of the sun than ever before, enhanced by the loveliness and devotion of many. It is a glow ray of eternal strength. Your own mighty I Am presence will attest to this. For your own mighty I Am presence knows full well that one day, many today that you do not even believe will come to the light, will gloriously turn away from the darkness and toward the light with all their heart. And they will desire with all their heart to serve our cause, and they will desire with all their heart to give themselves. It is almost as if the ancient prediction was coming into manifestation. They shall say to the rocks, fall upon us. So mankind, after having rejected the light, the never-failing light of God, for so long, will suddenly turn to the very rocks, the manifestation of nature, and say, fall upon us. In other words, crush us by the hand of nature into the heart of God. This means that people will realize at last that many of the goals that they have formerly objectivized will have no meaning to them, that only spiritual goals will be of interest and concern to them. Yet they may, if they are not careful, strike a time in the age when not only will prophecy fail, but all of the contacts with God that are not already forged within the light of a man's being will be withdrawn in the obscure night of the whole planetary body ere it rise completely into the golden age. And in that moment of indecision, when there seems to be no certitude of divine intervention or no fashion of the passions of eternity of the heart and love of God for man, then suddenly those who have walked in darkness for so long will decide that they will turn to the light, but the door shall be shut. They have not bought oil for their lamps. The bridegroom shall have come, and there shall be indeed the gnashing of teeth upon the planetary body, as some throughout the entire period of that which remains of their embodiment upon a planetary body shall come at last before them and say, now you cannot buy oil. Now you cannot summon suddenly just because you want it, the light, for you have walked in darkness, and you must stand upon that which you have externalized. Do you see? It is utterly important that you do see. I want you to understand that it is not enough just simply to say, we are friends of Saint Germain. The time to say it is now, to stand up for God and be counted as those who will direct your attention unto spiritual and luminous orbs at the time when the whole human race per se, except the few, are actually being counted. If you stand up for us now, if you stand up for the God presence within yourself now, well, beloved ones, I want you to know that will also be a count for you in the future. Have you heard it said that those who deny me before men, I will deny also before my Father, as a statement of the Lord Christ? Do you understand the meaning of that statement? It means in the little clinches of life that you are able to decide for yourself that you want to be one of those who is devoted to the cause of freedom for the planetary body. Not just because you want your own freedom. Of course you want it. But you want others also to have it. And because you want them to have it, you give it unto others. And you call for the development of other lives in a spiritual renaissance, in a rising culture of the ages, in the sunburst of the cosmic flame of a golden age, produced because you worked and served with us in that production. There are always many who, as some have said in spiritual movements, desire to toast their shins upon the fires of others. Let us then remind you that whereas this may be a good and worthy pastime, it will not serve very effectively when you are asked by the lords of karma to show your light. To show your light means to show your light. And it is to your light that I am dedicated this night in cosmic service. I want you to understand then that we are going to perform an inner spiritual exercise in the realization of your own mighty I Am presence. Whether or not you are successful in the measure of externalizing this exercise will depend upon you. For mankind often go here and there to behold Christ, without understanding that the kingdom of heaven is within them. I am concerned then tonight that the fullest opportunity be given unto all, that opportunity be a consummate opportunity of your own God presence, as your God presence seeks to externalize in you for all time a focus of eternity. Do you understand what I have said? You have always entered most easily into the natural time sense that surrounded you. You say it is 10 o'clock and it is so. You say it is 12 o'clock and it is so. But now I say to you, develop the eternal sense as a part of the God consciousness within yourself. Out of the God consciousness, out of the wondrous light, will come then into manifestation a divine being. O wondrous light of eternal truth, thou light in which there is no error, shine thou into the human heart. The miracle, the ascended master miracle of the cosmic law, the fulfillment of the longing of the heart of God and the longing of the heart of man. Surround all with a beautiful golden crown with 12 stars, jewels of perfection that guard and watch the hours. Let them understand that to wear this crown is to be indeed a master of their own destiny. Let them understand that they need not of necessity wait for their ascension in order to begin the manifestation of cosmic law, for cosmic law lives within you now, and now is the time when men and women should take their dominion over the earth, the fulfillment and anchoring of a cosmic law within their very being of beings. Beloved ones of the infinite light, the heart of God literally pants for man because there is a dearth of ascended beings now moving up the scale. They are only a few, and we would have many. We want to increase the rate of ascensions upon the planetary body and worthiness for the ascension. Is this wrong? Have we erred because we have apprehended this thought for you? I do not think so. And consequently, I wish to assure you that I am going to ask the lords of karma to drop my mantle around your shoulders, that you may wear a portion of my burden for 30 days and a portion of my joy. When you come to know them both, I think you will understand what it means to enter into the heart of Saint Germain. You will understand the fiery Maltese cross, and you will understand that it is time that you enter that heart in order to receive those necessary strengthenings of cosmic purpose whereby a literal master is born amongst men. Oh yes, a very ordinary appearing individual, but one that nevertheless will be a master of his destiny for 30 days or a slave. It depends upon you, for born out of the consecration of your own heart and the fires of your own heart will come some of the realization. Now I am Saint Germain, and I am making a cosmic fiat. And that fiat saith that all who desire to reject my mantle may do so freely. I give them permission. That all who desire to accept my mantle may see for themselves within the next 30 days as to whether or not they will either benefit by it or be maimed momentarily by it. For those of you who have a certain weight of karma may find that that karma may outpicture itself momentarily in order to spin you into gold by the chastening of the Spirit. Others of you who have made certain cosmic developments may find that suddenly, whereas you were soaring before, now you feel a little of the weight of the world upon your shoulders, a burden of the ascended Master's consciousness. Oh yes, a burden of light, but nevertheless a burden for humanity, that because you will effectively decree yourselves free from that burden, you will lift the weight of the world's darkness and increase the scope of light's manifestation upon the planetary body as it has not been done for myriad years before. You may say, how can this be? You are Saint Germain. You are able to lift the burden, and now you expect us to do it. Well, beloved hearts, I am multiplying myself. And in this multiplication, I am giving you the opportunity to earn that cosmic blessing which otherwise would have been my own. And I can assure you that there is a cosmic law and cosmic laws aplenty that support the actual giving of my mantle to those of you who wish to wear it. Of course, it will increase a certain measure of your power to do good, your power to invoke, your power to raise mankind. But we will see how these many Saint Germains can affect the world in a dynamic manner. For I promise you that I will retain the full power that I have and still give the mantle to you. How this is done may not be clearly understood by you all at once, but one day when you wear the mantle which I wear and carry the scepter in your hands, you will see that this is a divine prerogative of every ascended being, to give a certain measure of his grace by the cosmic law of assumption unto others, that they may wear the garments that I wear and do the deeds which I do, and gather the beautiful mantle flame which I also give to the world, a mantle flame of freedom. Freedom must increase upon the planetary body. War and struggle and confusion and darkness have not affected the world in a benign manner. But you can, for you are contemporaries of all that lives. You are embodied upon the planetary body, and I tell you truly, that to have the gift of life, to actually walk the earth with those embodied here amongst the living, is a glorious opportunity which I am giving to each of you who will accept it this night. Your free will shall be the deciding choice, and those of you who will stand up for the light which I offer you will understand it. And you will accept it, and you will help me to lift the burden from the world and make 1972 a stepping stone, as has been predicted, of infinite cosmic possibilities unto mankind. Then we shall see as to whether or not the forces of light can roll back the forces of darkness. Have we not stayed the hand of the dark cycle for a period? And has it not blessed the earth with countless magnificent attributes, even in spite of the negatives that do manifest in the world? Well, then, I think also that by the glorious opportunity given to the keepers of the flame fraternity and those of you who are willing to accept the mantle of the flame, we shall also establish now in the year 1972 those glorious hosts of light in cosmic action who will work for God to change the world by the inner power of Saint Germain. This is no desecration of my flame, I assure you. How can that be? Do you suspect for one moment that you have that power? I tell you, nay. You only have the power if you wear the mantle of Saint Germain to intensify and increase my flame. And I am sure that you will do that when you stop to think about it. And when I came to you tonight, early in my speech, I proclaimed to you the mastery over passing thoughts. Well, begin the practice of that right now. Won't you do it, please? Will you understand what it means when you begin to do it? Will you understand what it will mean to you and to the whole planetary body? For it will mean that people, individuals, will not be able to cast their negatives before you and destroy your peace of mind. You will be the master of your own thoughts. And then you see very little criticism can emanate from the students of the light, because they will be wearing the mantle which I wear. They will be holding the scepter of power in miniature in their own force field. And when responsibility is so distributed, I am quite sure that it will change a great deal of the balance of power upon the planetary body. For there are so many wonderful people upon the planetary body in embodied form. There are little children now uttering prayers that are so sublime and so sweet that they almost move the lords of karma to set aside certain aspects of the cosmic law, which we would never do, dear one, if we were implored by adult individuals of hardness of heart. But now we find that these tiny children in their prayers have somehow or other picked up in the world or in the world thought those beautiful concepts that are like threads of gold on the pages and tapestry of history. This is God magnificence. I say unto you, except ye become a little child, ye cannot enter in. Do not fear to become little children in your consciousness, for thus shall the weight of the world be lifted, because the will of God can be done by those who are unsophisticated, by those channels of knowledge communicated to them which tell them that it cannot be done. We know that it can be done, and this is why we do it. Will you know with us why it can be done? And will you do it? Let not the opportunity pass, as so many have.